welcome everyone. We are back. It is Wednesday, June 10th. After a 3-4 week hiatus, we're all back from our cruises and our globe trotting, and we are honored to have Barry Donadio, foreign policy expert and candidate for commissioner in Queen Anne's County. Welcome to the show, Barry. And our hosts tonight are Jackie Saxton and Mark Unkmer. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Dwight. Barry, thank you so much for being on tonight. So before we jump into the news of the day and what's going on with Iran, give us an update. How's the campaign going?
Campaign's going great. First, I want to thank you guys for having me again. I started my podcasting career and commentating career with you guys. So I've come full circle, and I've been on every news channel there possibly can be around the world. And I'm right back here with you guys. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Sure. To hear it.
And the campaign's going great. The endorsement of Congressman Andy Harris is huge, as well as former Governor Bob Ehrlich has been a huge help. And I've been having fun. I've been keeping it positive. I wish my opponents the best. I know everybody in the races, and it is tough being a candidate running for office when you also like the people you're running against. So I like to keep it clean, honorable, win or lose. People know where to come when they want discipline and running an honorable race.
That's a great message. I really like that. So tell me, what are some of the issues though that you are running on in Queen Anne's County? What are the challenges?
Right. The number one issue here in my county, especially on the Kent Island portion of my county, is overdevelopment. The voters that I'm meeting with, shaking hands with, they perceive, and me too, because I'm a voter too, we perceive that we're not really being represented and developers represented over us. And so it seems to be a lot of building going on, and there's all sorts of excuses as to, why the building's happening. It's nobody's fault and that kind of stuff. And I think the voters have read the writing on the wall. My campaign signs say stop overdevelopment. They know where I stand. So I know that I can't stop every single thing, but I'm going to take a look at things when they come across my desk. And if there's any way, shape, or form I can bring some relief to the people of the county, where we're not adding yet another 50 cars to already miserable traffic crisis and overdevelopment crisis, then, I'm going to stop it. And that's the best I can do. But voters want that. They want somebody who's just going to stand up, be honest, and say, yeah, I'm going to try. I'm not associated with any real estate developers or any, I have no investments. I'm not a developer myself. And as you know me, and any of your viewers may know me, I'm of a private security and investigation firm, and I'm an international news commentator. I've done very well at both of those things. So, they know where I stand, and I'm not going to approve things that are going to make their quality of life get lower due to the overdevelopment, traffic crisis that it has created from the overdevelopment, and also the overcrowding of our schools is also from the overdevelopment as well.
Yeah, and it's definitely that overdevelopment is something I've heard not just in Queen Anne's County, but from candidates all over the state. So it's definitely seems to be a pervasive message this cycle.
And I agree with you. Yeah, I'm hearing it in other counties, and I was surprised to hear that. So it's the campaign. I've learned a lot on my campaign. I was first saying, hey, you know what? It'll be all right to build out east in Queen Anne's County, until I really sat down with some of the people there, and they don't want building any more than I do. And there's a lot of farmland out east in Queen Anne's County. We have it all. We have municipal, and then we have a lot of farmland, and nobody wants anything built anymore. So I have to go by what the people are telling me, and that's what I represent.
So what do you say about affordability in housing?
That's a very good question, and that's tough, and that is more of a state problem. I don't think one county can tackle the problem on its own, because I think they would fail miserably. This is a tremendous problem. There is a housing crisis, like you're mentioning as well. If you have nowhere to live right now, it's tough to get someplace that you can afford. I would like to first make sure that we're helping our senior citizens and our veterans. I think they've been through enough for our country. They've certainly sacrificed for us. So I would like to start there, and then do whatever it takes within reason to get some affordable housing and somehow not create more traffic. And good luck with that question. So I'm going to lean heavily on other commissioners, and I'm going to be serving with and say, hey, gentlemen, and maybe one female on there, we got to do something about this. I have great ideas. You might have great ideas. Let's sit down, work this out. Let's prioritize the citizens over developers. That's all I'm trying to do here.
So before we jump into what's going on internationally, anything else on the campaign side that you want to make sure that you let people know? Any events coming up? I know obviously early voting starts tomorrow. So
yeah, early voting in Queen Anne's County starts June 11th through the 18th. And then, of course, Election Day will be on the 23rd. You're going to see me out there at the polls, meeting voters, asking them for their vote. But mostly, hopefully I have a great time meeting people and supporting anybody that needs my support. And also wishing congratulations and good luck to my opponents. They have been very nice. So everybody kind of gets along, and it's great to do that. And voters love that too. So I really would like to say it's been a great experience overall. And I'm learning all the way through. And you learn something every day with campaigning.
Great.
So
tell me a little bit about, tell me, how does the increase in the Bay Bridge? So are you interested in having another span, or do you guys want to, is that something where that creates more demand for housing, or is that something that's going to remove congestion?
It's a brilliant question. So me, you, all of us are inheriting the issue with the Bay Bridge over the Chesapeake, right? These are, every time I go over that bridge, I say, boy, this is a completely inadequate bridge in the first place. They both are. And I think they were inadequate from the day they constructed them. It seems to be there was a lack of innovation and an understanding that we are the main artery of the capital of the United States, the free world, the capital of the free world. In addition to that, we cannot pretend that we're just some backwoods county. We have to build the infrastructure to handle the traffic, to keep it moving and keep it really off our side roads and keep beach traffic going. I'll say this, and maybe some people might cringe at this, but I'll say nobody wants a new bridge, but it's long overdue. Every time there's just one accident on this bridge, I mean, it essentially gets closed down. It's really terrible, which turns Kent Island into a parking lot, and we turn into prisoners in our own homes. We can't leave the house. So I would say hopefully they can change the plans for what they're trying to do, a 4-lane bridge. I think even that is inadequate before they even lay the foundation. This is a bridge that is going to the capital of the United States. I would mimic, and don't cringe now, but I think they need to put something like the Verrazano Bridge there. It has to be like a double-decker bridge that can potentially even hold a train. If they get a train through there one day, they have to think of the future, because they seem to only be building for today's problem and not the 40 or 50 year down the road issue where there's going to be more population, more cars. So at least, like, let's use the Verrazano Bridge as an example. If there is a 10-car pileup on the Verrazano Bridge, you still have the lower deck and it doesn't stop traffic. And to me, that's brilliant. I just think if you're not building something like that over the Chesapeake, we're already behind the 8 ball. And yes, the big question is who's going to pay for that? But I say, why build it if it's going to be inadequate in the first place? So I know I don't want to be stuck on that bridge, no matter how many lanes it is. They should just build at least an adequate bridge that we're not going to be stuck in traffic. that too will help Kent Island and Queen Anne's County get the flow going. Then we could deal with the roads once they build a super bridge like that, that we could maybe open the roads differently, or even get an express lane down Route 50 to where, hey, if you're not stopping on Kent Island, here, get on this lane and keep on going to Ocean City. So that's an idea, and we're trying to get something like that. There are ideas, not just from myself, but from other commissioners. They too deserve credit of getting that express lane going all the way to Route 404, if you know where that is, close to Chesapeake College.
Well,
No, it was. Go ahead.
I would say the current gubernatorial administration doesn't have a great track record when it comes to bridges, so we might want to wait until we get a new governor.
Yeah, well, if I'm in front of him, because it's my understanding his wife is from Queens, she'll completely understand, and I'll say, hey, listen, if there's an accident on this bridge as you have it planned, you and I both know this is just going to be a gridlock situation. So, look, if I had the power to do it, I'd say, hey, let's put the Verrazano Bridge right there. At least, for goodness sake, if there's an accident, we're not going to be stuck on this bridge. And that is what residents are really upset on both sides, you know, the Anne Arundel County side as well as the Queen Anne side. And yes, that would be an enormous cost, and I'm not certain they have that money. But, hey, it's an idea, and it's a start.
So it was the Bay Bridge that really opened up the Eastern Shore for development. Before my time, and just like the Verrazano Bridge opened up large parts of Staten Island. I think there were farms on Staten Island back in the day before there was more ways back and forth with the rest of New York City. Do you see that as creating more pressure for development in Queen Anne's County if the bridge has more capacity?
I think the capacity would really just be designed because the bridge is, I mean, the open road is already here. So, right. You know what I'm saying? So it's already, the damage is already done when we speak of, hey, the bridge opening up development and creating more overdevelopment. But I think this would be more geared to a more free flow of infrastructure, traffic. I say make something to where if they decide to one day put a train, there's a lot of talk of a train going in the middle of Route 50 all the way to DC. That has been, I remember Delegate Schmiegel was saying that back in his day. Might be a good idea because if they don't figure out a way to move this traffic along, this will very much be the Bronx, except on Kent Island. And I prefer the Bronx, and the Bronx is lovely. But I don't want the traffic of the Bronx, and nobody here wants that.
Right, right.
You're a year ago or 50 years ago, nobody wants it. So we have to come up with new ideas and new ways to prevent this and get the infrastructure that this place needs. And we used to have the train on Kent Island, believe it or not. It stopped in 1952. And, you know, I might get some awkward looks to this, but we have a train line going to Centerville. Is there a way we can get that train in Centerville in Queen Anne's County to go and take passengers to Ocean City or to Delaware, to the beach? I'm willing to explore that option. They would have to redo the track. It's an old 1912 freight track, but that through federal funds, I'm willing to give that a try. And that would be pretty neat, taking a nice slow train to the beach from Centerville, and it would alleviate some traffic, I think.
And definitely be scenic. I think we're going to be hard pressed to get a lot of money from the federal government at the moment. I don't think Trump and Westmore get along very well.
You know, to Congressman Andy Harris's point, I believe he's already secured some funds, a few million, towards something to that nature. And I look forward to meeting with him and seeing, hey, can this be done? And look, I would love to do that. I like to be on the train. I would love to get on at Centerville and be able to sit back, relax, and get on a train and get there to the ocean or even Ocean City. If we can get it to the Ocean City, that would be incredible. But even if we could get to Delaware, that would relieve some of the strain on the traffic, obviously, and make lives better here in Queen Anne's County.
Yeah, I mean, anecdotally, before I got my car, and I live obviously in Montgomery County, I Googled once like how to take public transportation to get from Montgomery County to Ocean City, and Google Maps basically just told me to like screw off. Like, are you serious? No. Okay.
Yeah.
So a
So
train would be helpful.
I would, I will say, coming from New York, when I moved down from Long Island in 2002, I was very surprised when I moved to Kent Island. I saw that there was no train service even to Annapolis. And I said to myself, how can a capital of a state not have a train to it? I just found that fascinating. And then I love history and I always look at it. And they used to. There was a lot of trains going to Annapolis, but they, I guess, fell by the wayside or something. So I think that's something in the future. And I like to dream big, but that could be a possibility. And I don't really see how else they can really fix the traffic crisis. It's not just a Queen Anne's County traffic crisis. It's a crisis for all of us here. Again, because we're so populated now and we're in the capital, right outside of the capital, the free world. So we're going to have to start working on getting trains, more buses, whatever it may take to help us move along on the road a little bit better.
So I want to switch this over to talk about what's going on with the war in Iran, because over the past 2 days, it seems like it has re-escalated, although I don't think the ceasefire we had was much of a ceasefire to begin with. So with the Trump admin re-escalating with the attacks, and obviously Iran provoked those first, where do you see this going?
So I was just on Arabic TV just an hour ago dealing with this same thing. It looks to me like the expiration of the ceasefire has just come upon us. We've seen President Trump give weeks towards diplomacy. I truly believe if he felt like he can solve it without putting the military back in danger and dropping bombs and stuff like that, I think he was willing to give that a chance. He certainly gave it longer than I thought he would give it. I'm surprised the ceasefire even lasted this long, but I think with recent escalations and the fact that President Trump has said himself in the Oval that they were kind of pulling out chain a little bit, and I believe the president. I wholeheartedly believe him. The Iranians are just simply going to play this out as long as they possibly can. They want to draw this out because they survived through that time period. So they're surviving on gasps of oxygen, basically, and every little bubble they can get longer works to their benefit. So I think Trump just said, you know what, enough's enough. I think this is the big one again. I think hearing the Secretary of War today, hearing President Trump, it looks like they're back to full-scale operations, and this will be aimed at, in my opinion, dislodging the regime entirely. And I think on the menu, most likely, is whoever is left in the leadership from the first regime, which seems to be the president of Iran, the foreign minister, and maybe one or two other diplomatic corps ministers. They may very well be on the menu right now for U.S. military strikes, where we have heard maybe a week ago an unconfirmed report that the Iranian president was talking about resigning. That there could have been the victory that we seeked and could have claimed regime change, because he's gone. And yes, we've taken out the supreme leader. We've taken out 2 or 3 echelons of leaders. However, that president is in the eye still. And me personally, if I still see him, I consider him the old regime. So for me personally, he has to go. The foreign minister has to go. And I think the Americans may have left them in place just simply to negotiate with them, because if they're gone, there's just nobody left to negotiate with. And then what do you do there? That could be even a bigger problem. So the situation is emerging. It's complex, most certainly. We will know more in the next 24 to 48 hours for sure.
So up to now, our focus has been leadership change with the IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard, as opposed to which has been, how shall I say, the the most hostile. They've been really pushing the agenda that has been the most problematic, whereas it had been the sort of quote unquote, I do air quotes, democratic leaders that we had hoped would prevail, who were somehow more subject to the democratic pressure. So you're suggesting that that strategy may be coming to an end now, and that we will be opposed to all of the Iranian leadership, not just the IRGC?
No, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that, because who knows who's actually helping the U.S. behind closed doors. We just simply don't know. There could be a leader there. There was a report that the former president of Iran was allegedly supposed to assist us, and we were going to have him come to power. However, he was accidentally targeted in a strike, and it hasn't been seen since. Again, another unconfirmed report. Who knows? But we have also heard reports that the Kurds were going to come down as a ground force and literally take over the seat of government. That obviously has not happened. I think this is also part of what led to the ceasefire, for both militaries to strategically pause, see what they're going to do next. Trump was working the diplomacy end, like, hey, maybe we can get a deal here. If we pressure the Iranian regime enough, we might be able to solve this. And certainly if that president stepped down, like it was being reported, I would certainly take that as regime change at that point. And that would be a victory that I believe the Americans would be seeking. But we're just not there. It didn't happen. And listen, like I said before, listening to Trump today, listening to Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, they are conducting massive strikes right now. The only key thing missing from all of this that we're not bringing up was the Israeli military. And it looks to me like right now they're on hold. So this is a strict U.S. military operation, whether it be punitive or strategic, one doesn't know. But I'm thinking it will continue until all of Trump's demands are met.
And how long do you think that's going to take if we keep up the pace of bombing that it looks like we're going to be picking up on?
I think that question's best answered by the regime itself. Okay, are you going to step down from power? Is the president going to resign? Are we going to deal with an Iranian regime that is open to giving democracy to its people? If there's no communication between them, I think the U.S. Air Force is going to make easy work of whatever is left of the Iranian regime and target its leaders. And that will take a few days. Really, there's no air defense. There's no Air Force of the Iranian regime. There's no Navy. You have the most advanced Air Force on planet Earth, picking cherries, basically, flying over Iran, doing as it pleases unopposed.
That said, the Iranian military, their focus has been less directly focusing on the United States and more blocking oil shipments going out of the Persian Gulf. And on that, they've had a substantial amount of success. So that's been their military response, as opposed to sort of how shall I say, waging an effective defensive posture.
Well, right. There's a big sign and symptom that they don't control the Strait of Hormuz. And the sign and symptom is simply this. Our slowest moving aircraft over the past few weeks, and even during the last strikes, were flying over the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. And then the Iranians are just unable to address that situation.
It's not the planes, but it's not the planes that need to go through it. It's the oil tankers, right?
Well, the Iranians have the ability to threaten oil shipping, right?
Right.
And they could very well have a missile somewhere in a cave that they could get out and shoot, and get a lucky shot off. So that's the card, that's the hand that they're playing with their cards. Right. However, they don't have a dedicated Navy to be able to enforce or even board a ship They can threaten to take a potluck shot with a missile that they may have, which yes is dangerous, but ultimately, if we ask which Navy controls the Strait of Hormuz, which Air Force controls the airspace over the Strait, that's an easy answer. The easy answer is the United States. Plus, we have a carrier group right there off of Oman. Good luck defeating that. And then we have the fleet out of Bahrain. So, and we hear nothing of the Iranian Navy. Where is it? So we know that it's at the bottom of the ocean. So, yes, I believe we can look at the Iranian Navy as like, hey, if a bunch of guys with rifles get on a Boston whaler that's 14 feet long, I guess you can call that some kind of a Navy, but that can happen anywhere. Me and you can get in a rowboat right now with a rifle and try to seize a boat. That's not a Navy, though, So essentially, that's where they're at. They threaten, though. They threaten through their terrorist actions, and they threaten through piracy. They've held the whole world hostage with threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz. They just simply don't have the ability.
But they have.
Well, I disagree, because they're threatening. Therefore, some ship captains are not going through, and also because of the insurance that ship, they're literally telling them, do not pass through until certain juncture, whether it's the war is over, or if the Americans do something, there's a trigger that those insurance companies, because they don't want to pay for a sunk, very large oil tanker to go down or catch fire. So the insurance companies really are going to drive what's going to happen there. And they don't feel confident because the Iranians are, in fact, threatening. And yes, they could launch a ballistic missile and get a lucky shot. So if we were all insurance company providers, and we insured these ships, we may say, yeah, you know what? Better for you to stay at dock in the Persian Gulf for a couple of months until this is all over than try to. So that's what you see happening.
So how are they able, I mean, we know they don't really have a Navy left to use, but they were able to take down one of our Apache helicopters a couple of days ago. So how was that able to happen with their lack of military ability?
This is still a country. It's a war zone. Okay. I'm not sure what hit that helicopter. I imagine it could have been a man-pad or some kind of a Stinger missile type device that may have gotten a lucky shot. Our helicopters and our aircraft also have countermeasures. So we've heard the president talk about that today. It was some kind of a missile of type, probably, like I said, a Stinger missile of a different variant from a different country. So, and it hit the helicopter. So it was a lucky hit. I would compare that to how many of their aircraft have we shot down or shot on the ground.
But Barry, we're describing asymmetric warfare. So the Iranians are not as go look at what happened in Afghanistan or in other countries. They're not trying to contest, on even ground. What they're trying to do is, through the equivalent of guerrilla warfare, impose enough pain to, as you described, the insurance. So basically, insurance company assessed that it's not safe to send tankers through. They're launching attacks against critical facility like desalination plants at other countries in the region, which is a real threat. So I guess what I'm troubled by is we're suggesting that because they're not doing the kind of warfare that you might do in a sort of conventional war, World War II, World War I, that somehow they're not contesting it, when arguably they're doing exactly what, say, the Americans did in the Revolutionary War, which is George Washington didn't have head-to-head battles with the British. He chose to keep his force effective and move on to fight another day. And that seems to be what the Iranian strategy is, to delay this over a protracted period of time.
I think you're 100% right. Yeah, I believe that the Iranians are trying to buy time. They're trying to outweight Trump. They're trying to build up the pressure in the United States that the Americans are going to override Trump's authority somehow, either through Congress. So yes, 100% they're doing that, and they will fight asymmetrically. They will attack our allies. They will attack, most likely through terrorism and through their proxies, targets in Europe and potentially in the American homeland. So there's no doubt about that. And I'm shocked they haven't done that already. And they may have, and we're not aware of that. But yes, they're going to fight the way that they fight, and they're going to try to deny us the ability to use our strongest weapons, which is the American warfighter. They never want to go head to head against a U.S. Marine or an Army infantryman. They will always choose to yield out of the way and use an explosive device, however, because they just are not trained as good as we are. They cannot compete against Americans in a firefight. So you're 100% right. They are going to use unconventional warfare. They're going to use their sleeper cells. They are going to use Hezbollah to strike Israel and strike at us with missiles. They are going to use the Houthis also. And they have said, I believe it was today, that the war is no longer regional, that it will be out of not only in Iran and in the Persian Gulf, but it will be everywhere. So I take that statement very seriously from them. Anything is possible. And they may very well target American shipping, American interests in the Middle East, 100%. Europe, if they have the ability, and if they have the ability, they may strike us here at home.
So you mentioned the allies, and another part of this we didn't bring into play is what about any of the Gulf allies? Because I know that there have been, especially in like Saudi Arabia, where Iran has struck them, that they're not exactly pleased with what's going on either. So what role do you think they could play in this escalation?
Well, Iran has struck out in anger not only against Saudi Arabia, but the UAE, Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, and most recently Jordan, and we know Israel as well. The regime is treading very much on hot water. The Arab Gulf state allies, our allies, can form a coalition and go on the offensive against this regime. I know that they're not going to tolerate missiles being shot into their country, whether it's at an American base or not. So they could very well get angry enough to start shooting some of their own missiles as a punitive action against the regime. And I'm kind of surprised they haven't already. Trump and the Gulf state allies may be talking a lot, and they may be saying, hey, let's let the Americans do this job. We'll stay out of their way. We'll let them handle this. They'll get this done quick, and we won't have to lose any of our missiles or any of our military people. But, it should be mentioned that these Gulf state allies have played a defensive game, not only for us, but they have defended Israel. Jordan deserves a tremendous amount of credit. They have defended Israel. They have shot down missiles that were on the way to Israel that was from Iran. So there's a lot that people need to study with this military conflict. And there are a lot of players that they're not getting the credit they do deserve. And most of them are our Gulf state allies.
What else you got, Mark?
Well, I think you make a good point. It has changed the sort of pivoted the Middle East politics because it has positioned many of the Arab countries against Iran in a way that would have been unimaginable a number of years ago. And it also reflects the success of the Abraham Accords in reorienting. It's obviously a foundation. It isn't just Iran that has succeeded in doing this, but Iran's aggression and the successful diplomacy leading into the Abraham Accords has fundamentally changed think of it as a sort of pivot point or hinge, the politics in the area. Any comments on sort of the daylight that seems to develop between the United States and Israel, more specifically between Trump and the Israeli Prime Minister?
I mean, everybody knows the United States has a very special relationship with Israel, as they should. And it's my understanding, I think it was 8 minutes after they declared their nation that we recognized the Israelis nation, the state of Israel. So that too proves that these are both great allies. The Israelis helped the United States on a great deal of military matters, and I'm sure intelligence, and vice versa. So Israel, any of our allies, whether it's France or England, Israel is right up there with them. And I will say the Gulf state allies are pretty up there too. And last I checked, the United States doesn't let any of our allies get pushed around. We're not going to tolerate what happened, because my opinion is this is all ignited by the October 7th attack in Israel. How easy has the world forgotten about that when so many people were killed innocently by a terrorist organization that was funded and backed by Iran? So I think that's what broke the camel's back here. And I think that's why not only Benjamin Netanyahu, but President Trump said, you know what? Enough's enough. We're going to take down this regime. And then you watch, when this regime is gone, there won't be any reason for oil to be expensive other than a big hurricane in the Persian Gulf, because the Iranians really don't get along with anybody in that region at all. And there's been tension between them since 1979, when the Islamic fundamentalist regime took over and took hostages at our embassy. And we are dealing, a lot of Americans forget, we are dealing with this same government that stormed our embassy, took hostages, and wouldn't give them back. And we can't forget that. So the camel's back was broken on October 7th, in my opinion. And, the Trump administration and Benjamin Netanyahu, I think they came to the conclusion enough's enough. The United States is not going to let any of our allies have that happen to them without a consequence, whether it's England, France, Belgium, you name it, any country, including Israel and including the Gulf state allies. That kind of evil has to be rooted out of the world. And that's exactly what the American military is doing right now.
So I heard an interesting commentary yesterday, and this really stuck with me, saying, a lot of people didn't want this war to start in the first place. They thought it was unnecessary. But what Trump is saying is, this is an issue that we need to deal with before our future generations have to deal with it. And don't you think if we had the opportunity as the United States to stop Hitler before he, went and did everything horrible that he did, that we would have taken that chance, right? And then they're comparing that to, we are having the chance now to take out a potential future nuclear threat and stop it before it can take place.
Yes, because let's compare it to North Korea, right? We left North Korea alone, and lo and behold, now they have nuclear weapons. Anybody remember before they had nukes, they were saying, we're not going to let them have nukes, and now they have nukes. And we really let that go, and now we have a very hostile nation to us and our allies that have a nuclear weapon. And we just cannot tolerate that, okay? And we cannot tolerate that with a regime that publicly states that they're going to wipe Israel off the map. Israel is our ally, and we're just not going to let that happen. We can't let that happen. So the clock was ticking when the Iranian supreme leader said that, and they don't deny it. They say they said they're going to wipe Israel off the map. So imagine them with a nuclear weapon, and then let's look at their behavior recently. They've shot off ballistic missiles at everybody, including innocent shipping in the Persian Gulf. I've been on commentary. I've been on Lebanese television, Egyptian television, Saudi television, doing the same kind of news commentator. Well, lo and behold, there was somebody from Iran saying, and certainly a government representative, although they didn't identify themselves as, but you know what she said? She said, if we don't get peace, no one in the region gets peace. That's how they think. So if they don't get the peace they want, they're just going to blow up everybody. So I agree with President Trump. I think he's doing the right thing. We have to go in there. The time is right. Israel has a strong leader. It's Benjamin Netanyahu. You see he's getting the job done there. And we have President Trump, which is a strong military leader that is not going to let our military sit in a police action. He's going to unleash them, let them do their job, and get it done quick, like everybody wants, and it's going to be effective.
Well, I think that's a great note to wrap on, and we'll definitely bring you back as things proceed over there. So we'll take this time. Anything you want to plug? I know we talked about your campaign. Where can people go to see what you're doing? Where can they support you?
Well, first, again, let me repeat, thank you so much for having me. You guys are great. I really appreciate being on your show. I'm easy to find. Just Google me. BarryDonadio.com is probably the easiest way. But I'm all over Facebook, Twitter, wherever. I'm very easy to find. Many of you already know that I'm also an instructor, a pistol instructor. I love teaching citizens how to shoot and protect themselves. And I'm president of Public Security LLC, which is a private investigation firm and a security firm here in the state of Maryland. We also operate in New York. And one recent development, the laws in the state of Maryland have changed. We have been vetted by the state police, and we are now a special police agency, which is exciting. There's all sorts of training that we're going through and upgrades. And we will have police powers on the properties that we protect of our clients. So very interesting development. And I guess I could add a new title to me, Chief of Special Police, perhaps.
Very good. Mark, what do you have?
Well, we do have, for those people who follow us, an opportunity to join us at the Red, White, and Blue Dinner, which is coming up at the end of the month. There's a link on the Montgomery County Republican Club page for tickets, but you could get a ticket at our table for $175. We don't make any extra. We're just passing on the costs to that. We also have, of course, the monthly lunch on Capitol Hill, which is another opportunity for Republicans who work, but well, primarily who work in Washington, D.C. Obviously, anybody could go to get together. And there's Dwight with more information before we get to the young Republicans.
Yeah, and we also have July 2nd is our Club Salute to America 250. We are going to line up some really great speakers to talk about America 250.
Awesome. From the YR front, the new date for our America 250 barbecue is going to be September 27th, and that is in Iamsville, Maryland, in Frederick County. Tickets are $25 each, so bring your whole family. There's going to be a petting zoo. There's going to be all kinds of family fun, so it's going to be a great time, and we hope to see you there. And
hey, Jackie, by the way, I updated your website. There were some updates that were never run, so just remember all those updates.
Awesome. Well, that's going to do it for us this week. We'll be back next week with another guest. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Jackie.
Yep.
Bye.
Let's go down to Missoni, where Italian cuisine shines. Let's go down to Missoni's. We'll have a